My name is Tammie Yazzie, and I teach in Kirtland, New Mexico. I have been a teacher for 7 years. I've taught 5th grade at a Judy Nelson Elementary School. And I did my project on how being Navajo influences teaching my students. And the reason why this research is important to me is because every year we look at the data that we receive from the district, from the state, and most of the time Native American students are very low in both reading and math. So I was just looking at ways that I could improve those scores for my students, and I've looked at trying to make sure that the topics that we're teaching are actually culturally relevant to my students so that they're able to make a connection with anything that we're teaching, whether it's math or reading, even science or history. So a lot of the projects that I kind of started doing with my students were a lot of literature, a lot of writing, trying to get a feel of where they are and what they're comfortable with and things that they want to do. So that's kind of where I started initially with my project. And I believe that a lot of this is overlooked because we don't really we say that these students are struggling, but we don't really look at the needs that they have. So I feel like this is something that's very important that we look at and continue to provide different types of differentiated instruction for these kids because they are in need of it the most. So for ELA, for instance, I went ahead and did a lot of not just Navajo culture, but any culture that's of an interest to them, because it's really interesting for them to know and see that there are relations among different cultures, that there's all these bridges that we can connect. And so it's really interesting for them because they're kind of going outside their comfort zone and they're seeking different types of literature and different types of writing that they want to do. And they've learned that writing isn't only one type of facet, not just one type of thing I'm looking for, but they're going out and doing different types of writing. And so it's become quite a way for them to express themselves, not just on paper, but even vocally. And I think that's very important because culturally they're not very, they're very shy. They don't really do a lot of public speaking, but that's something that we've worked on this year. So they've been doing a lot of presentations, and they've come a long way from the first couple of weeks of school. So now that they feel comfortable actually going up and presenting. We actually just did our first storytelling. And so they were very excited. They used a lot of components for their family history. So they had to do a family history story. So they went back a couple of generations and told a story from the viewpoint of a relative that's no longer with us, but has a rich history in their family. And it was very exciting for them to be able to do something like that. So all of that is culturally responsive teaching, and that's something that they've thrived on so far. So I hope when they go on next year that's something that they're going to keep in their tool belt to use as they go on to the next grade level. The families that I worked with, they have been incredible. We've included them a lot because one of the first things I did too was also I included a survey about how the relationships are at home with parents, because during parent-teacher conference I found out that a lot of the parents didn't really have a close relationship with their kids. So that really bothered me. So I wanted to kind of look at ways that we could kind of close that gap between the parent and the child. So we worked really hard at creating activities they could do at home. And one of the things that I learned about my students is that I've included them a lot in not just the planning process, but also the grading process. So they've been helping me create the rubrics, and the accountability on both my side and their side is equal. So it's really nice to know that this is what they want to do. So it's not as hard to get the work out of them because it's something they want to do and they created it for themselves as well. So it's a great way to become a co-teacher with with all of my students. And not only that, but with parents, because parents are part of the reflection process. After they complete a project, they'd have a reflection not just for the student, but also as the parent. So then the child would have to turn in the reflection for the parent and the reflection for the student. So it's really nice to see both aspects of the lesson. So parents have been very positive about the feedback that I've received on the lessons. They enjoy doing it, and they enjoy the time that they were able to spend with their kids on something other than working on a math problem or working on different type. I mean, they're doing all of those things in a certain way, but they're not really, it doesn't really seem like work because it's fun for them. So they're able to use different types of like artistic abilities in these projects. A lot of them displayed a lot of their projects in a way, in a different type of format, rather than you're going to write a report. There's still a writing process, but it's a little bit more free, like a free writing. So they enjoyed that a lot more. So the kids would be in charge of the free write, and then the parents would help them create the last component for their project that the kids would come to school and present for us. So like I said, we just finished the storytelling. So the next part is they want to do a family potluck, and they're going to invite their families, and we're going to look through their portfolios so that the students can share the presentations that they did. I was able to film almost all of them, or at least bits and pieces, and then of course there's pictures, and then all of the different projects that they did have been compiled into a portfolio. So it's something that they can take on and share, and it shows them that they created something, and they grew with it each time. So that's definitely something that the parents are looking forward to seeing, and I think the parents will be very surprised to see how much work they've done and how much planning they have done, because it's something they haven't really done before. And I look forward to not only doing this again next year, but building on it in a different way.